Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's impeachment trial is over. He has been acquitted on all charges. Our Adam Bennett has been in Austin since those proceedings started 10 days ago. Adam.
Back in May, the Republican-dominated House voted overwhelmingly to impeach Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Today, after hearing 2 weeks of evidence in this chamber, the Senate voted to acquit, mostly along party lines.
Inside the Texas Senate chamber today, 30 senators voted on 16 articles of impeachment over the course of 1 hour with one result.
A finding of acquittal.
Suspended Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was cleared on all articles of impeachment up for consideration this trial.
Attorney General Warren Ken Paxton Jr. is hereby, at this moment, reinstated to office.
His wife, Senator Angela Paxton, was not allowed to vote or deliberate. The articles alleged Paxton misused his office to benefit donor Nate Paul and retaliated against his top deputies who reported him to the FBI. Some of them watched from the Senate gallery today.
Anything you want to say, Superintendent?
No. Whistleblower Blake Brickman didn't want to talk to reporters as he left the state capitol. Senators from both sides told me the closed-door deliberations were cordial and members went through the evidence again.
It ended like it should.
Ultimately, some Republicans told me House prosecutors did not meet the burden of proof.
Had they held the hearings in the House the way they should have, with witnesses under oath, with House members being able to hear what's being said, what the evidence was, they may never have had an indictment.
And it's about their own ambitions about staying in office.
While some Democrats believe outside forces forced some members' hands.
If you look through social media, you can see some of it, but they were getting, messages and calls to their offices. We were a jury. Nowhere else does this happen like this. You don't see outside groups calling jurors and trying to influence.
Senators also voted nearly along party lines to dismiss 4 remaining articles of impeachment. Those are related to Paxton's ongoing felony securities fraud case. The next hearing in that case is next month in Houston. Reporting from the state capitol in Austin, Adam Bennett, KHOU 11 News.
Adam, thank you. After the vote to acquit, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who was acting as judge during the trial, criticized the House managers over the entire impeachment process.
Millions of taxpayer dollars have been wasted on this impeachment. 31 senators and a large Senate staff that made this trial possible have put their family life, their jobs, their business on hold for the last 3 months after already being here from January to June. Our founders expected better. It should have never happened this year, and hopefully it doesn't again unless we address this in the Constitution.
House Speaker Dade Phelan fired back at Patrick, saying in a statement, quote, "I find it deeply concerning that after weeks of claiming he would preside over this trial in an impartial and honest manner, Lieutenant Governor Patrick would conclude by confessing his bias and placing his contempt for the People's House on full display." Tonight, attorney Rusty Hardin, who represented the House managers in the impeachment trial, also putting out a statement. It reads in part, quote, "If this were a regular jury trial, Mr. Paxton would have been convicted without hesitation. But this wasn't a regular jury trial. It was a political trial." We're joined now by Mark Jones, a professor of political science at Rice University. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Paxton is back on the job tonight, but his legal troubles are far from over. He's still facing criminal charges. Now, does what happened here impact that?
Well, directly it doesn't impact it, but indirectly it does. So for the state securities felony charges the trial date for which will be decided early in October, probably will be either sometime late this year or early next year. What the acquittal today suggests is that if it gets to an appeal with the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals at the statewide level, we're likely to see the exoneration of the Attorney General just as he was with the impeachment charges. In regard to the federal charges, the acquittal today will make it easier for Attorney General Paxton and his supporters to portray any Department of Justice or an FBI investigation into the Attorney General as politically motivated, based on the logic that he was already tried in a court of impeachment here in Texas and acquitted on all charges.
So what does this mean for the Texas Republican Party? Some people refer to it as the end of the Bush era.
Well, I think the Bush era was already over quite some time ago. What it does suggest, though, is that we're likely to see a continuation of the GOP's civil war, particularly between the more conservative Senate and the more moderate and centrist House. For instance, Governor Abbott has planned on calling a special session for later this fall to deal with school choice or vouchers, and as well as public education funding. And that's likely to not be very successful because I don't think the Texas House, run by Republican Speaker Dade Phelan, is going to be in any mood to compromise with the Senate and the governor on school choice, something they've always opposed, especially after the acquittal today, and some of the sharp remarks that Lieutenant Governor Patrick made regarding the House and Speaker Phelan.
Mark Jones with Rice University, thank you so much for joining us.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
There's been a lot more reaction following this impeachment trial. Just text the word Paxton to 713-526-1111 and we'll text you back with some links to all of our coverage from Austin.